There's been a pretty big update in regards to JiDion being effectively exposed in part due to the EDP 445 documentary, where in this documentary they went in depth covering the failed sting operation that was attempted by JiDion and Skeeter Gene together, where EDP 445 was actually talking to a real 15-year-old that was in turn working with JiDion and his team to try to help get EDP caught. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this, being that there was a literal 15-year-old that was interacting with a predator. But if you'd like to see that general outline and all that coverage, here's a link to the video that I just made yesterday talking about this. But now we need to focus on JiDion's response video that was just posted yesterday. It right here is called My Side EDP 445 doc. In addition to this, we're also going to be going over the truth behind the EDP documentary that Kayla, the 15-year-old who is now 18 or 19, this is their response video as well. And I think it's important to show them both. Without further ado, we'll get things started here. The very first point that he brings up, and he tries to tackle everything that is brought up against him here, is the fact that the timeline of events of how Kayla ended up getting introduced to EDP is incorrect. He fully believed that EDP had found her Instagram where he had DM'd her through her Discord, but in the documentary, she made it clear that the timeline was she got a message from him on Instagram, and then later, EDP had been invited by JiDion onto his own Discord server. I had already pointed that issue out in my first video, where I also kind of pointed out that Kayla is quite an unreliable narrator in her situation, but more on that later on in this video. Now, I know I literally just covered this, but it's important for you guys that you see that in his response video here, he includes some segments from a Turkey Tom video, the one that I actually talked about in my video from yesterday, the dumbest predator catcher on YouTube. I just want to show you that he is using clips from this video, and it's clear that he has watched this video because that will be important later. But the next important segment here actually has to do with the message that she was showing screenshots of EDP messaging her first. And there's a bit of an issue with how it's cropped and that it looks a bit suspicious, and I would agree with JiDion in this situation here.
So one of the members in my Discord said, send a screenshot. And for some reason, Kayla says, I'll send one real zoomed in for you. And she zooms it in only on the sup that he said. And to show that this really is him, when she showed us the messages, as you guys can see, EDP said sup. Now, I am going to be real. I do not 100% know if anything was said before that sup. I am going to go off of her word. She says that EDP hit her up first, but I do find it a little weird that she zoomed in on that sup when someone asked for a screenshot.
I think it is fair to be skeptical in this situation, as again, Kayla has proven to be an unreliable narrator and has lied multiple times, including in videos that she's made about JiDion. But now following up after that, he shows video logs, and he's got a few of these that have clearly been archived from that time that everything was going down, of different calls in the Discord that Kayla was a part of, and actually, you know, talking to people about the fact that she's talking to EDP. And he makes a point that his community was telling her to block him and go to the authorities with it.
She was telling users in my public VC of a Discord of 130,000 people that she was talking to EDP. And this is what the users in that VC told her when she was telling them that she was talking to a predator and that she's underage.
In the text messages, do you state your age?
Yes.
Okay,
Like,
good.
clearly and multiple times?
Yeah.
And he like, yeah, I mean, that's straight up
It's
wild.
insane.
You can just send this
He
shit to
keeps
the FBI
asking
tip
me-
line if you want.
And again, after all of these people told her that she should stop talking with him and go to law enforcement, she just never responded to them.
I mean, what are you gonna do from here? You're gonna like call the police? I guess.
Yeah, but I guess I'm trying to get more evidence though, and then I need to get like, I don't know.
It's crazy that the people in JiDion's Discord were telling her to block him and go to the authorities with it. And instead of JiDion doing that himself, he instead tries to get a sting operation set up while she is working alongside them and communicating with EDP, and effectively having her play a part in this. And I'm also not a huge fan of how he outlines her, second response there as not really responding to the people saying that she should go to the authorities, because she does go to the authorities, and it's brought up towards the tail end of this video where he reveals that yes, there was an actual criminal report that was made that is still ongoing. The FBI has an active case in this situation. So I just find it strange that he's making a point of her, being quiet or seemingly, disregarding people telling her to go to the authorities when she absolutely did do this. But more on that later. Next up, JiDion provides evidence and shows that he had tried to get Kayla to hand over the reins of communication to him and Skeeter Jean. They were trying to set up where, Kayla's phone isn't working, so they had to switch phone numbers so that they could take control of communication, because he said that he was worried about Kayla still messaging back and forth with EDP, an actual predator.
When I first got on the call with her, I let her know I didn't feel comfortable with her talking with a predator, with her being underage. So I came up with some clever ideas to where we could switch off and I could take over communication and she wouldn't have to. Here's one of those examples that I gave her. Maybe we could say something like, hey, my parents switched providers and I couldn't get my number, so this is my new one. And then it'd be a number that we could text through. And granted, in that call, she did agree that that was a good idea, but she never gave over the communication to me nor Skeeter. Now, I really don't know why she never really wanted to give us over either the information for us to continue talking to him or even just saying that her number was messed up so we could talk to him on a different number.
So the concept here is fantastic. Moving communication from Kayla over to them. Awesome, sweet. That didn't happen. Now, apparently, Kayla says, and again, I'll show it later here with her response, that they never gave her that new phone number that she could share to EDP so that they could switch off this random communication. It becomes a he said, she said, and I don't really trust either of them. But to even just be generous to JiDion here, it still doesn't look good, because at the end of the day, she doesn't end up actually giving them reins of communication to speak to EDP. Okay. If the person that is the victim in this situation, a literal child, is refusing to cooperate to hand this over to you as a content creator, as a literal YouTuber, then I think most reasonable, logical people would look at that and go, okay, it's not my thing anymore. This isn't content anymore. This needs to go to the authorities. I don't understand why JiDion thinks that this means that, okay, it's just going to be a bit more difficult to get this video. And this is the point that I made from my video yesterday. If what mattered the most here was the safety of, Kayla at the time being a minor, a 15-year-old, then this would have just been okay, we are going to give this information to the police and let them handle this. As you know, it is literally their job to handle situations like this. But I'm going to rant more on that later when it's pertinent to what's being brought up in his side of things here. Following up after this, he shows some of Kayla's messages in the Discord where her intentions are made quite clear as to what she wants to do, and probably why she wasn't so eager to allow JiDion and Skeeter to kind of take control of messaging EDP.
Someone in my Discord rudely tells her that you taking credit for clout chasing a predator. She replies and said, no, I meant like I'm not going to go to trial after trial to not get credited. He's literally going to jail because of me. I'm saving these streets. Stop. Also, she responded to somebody who rudely told her that all she wanted was clout. And she said, if another YouTuber is going to make clout off of my situation, so am I. TF, that's wrong to take full credit off of something. You're just too young to realize it.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's important to show some of the intentions or motivations for why Kayla was behaving the way that she was and why she wasn't perfectly, interacting with and working alongside JiDion and Skeeter Jean. I may not necessarily agree with it, but I still think it would only be fair to show you guys the points that he brings up to show Kayla's intentions here. Next up, he claims and shows proof that he had told Kayla that he wanted her to be a ghost in this, that the only people that would know what was happening to her were, them, the police, and her parents.
In my first call with her, after I checked up on her to make sure that she was okay, I even let her know that I wanted her to be a ghost in this entire situation. And don't worry about your privacy and everything, Kayla. You're gonna be a ghost in all of this. The only people that I wanted to know that she was personally involved in this and that she had been talking to him is A, her parents, which I also told them, and B, law enforcement. I didn't want anybody else and nor the world to know that this minor was talking to EDP. That's why me and Skeeter wanted to take over communication. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we should I'll be like, yo, could you give us your information? We'll give it right back to you. You could change it. We just don't feel comfortable with conducting the investigation with an actual 15-year-old talking to him.
Yeah, basically. Or if she can get him to, like, text her, and we can set up, like, a text now account.
And well, yeah, just set up a new one, yeah.
Now look, all right, in the situation that this had gone perfectly to plan, where nothing was leaked about it, that they were actually able to get EDP arrested, maybe at that point, her name wouldn't have been included in any of this. That would also require Kayla to not be behaving the way that she is and not in this public Discord, making it very clear what her intentions are, that she wants to have credit for what's going on here. So I don't really think that the perfect situation was going to happen. I'm also not expecting that JiDion would have been able to notice all of these messages in the Discord, as they had a ton of members, there was a ton of messages. But I do know one surefire way that actually would have guaranteed that her name wouldn't have been brought up and that she wouldn't have been, known by the world as the person who was victimized by EDP. And that's if they just didn't fucking make a video about EDP, if they didn't try to make this content. The thing that would have guaranteed that only her parents, the authorities, and them being the only people that know that she was engaged in this talk, that EDP was grooming this girl, is if they just took all the information they had and gave it to the authorities and then stopped. I feel like a broken record, but that is truly the crux of this. And it feels like JiDion is trying to move the goalposts, that we're supposed to work from the baseline of, well, we're trying to catch them, we're trying to do good, we're like, we're predator catchers. He even mentions previously, while he was trying to get this, sting set up, that he had worked alongside Skeeter Gene, because he's such a prolific predator catcher, and he's probably exposed like over 200 over the last years that he's been doing this. But there are people that are estimating that of these, hundreds of predator catches that he's done and exposing them, they've successfully arrested 3, maybe 5, because there were 2 new ones from, late last year. And I just can't imagine with a ratio like that we are really expecting that we're going to get EDP behind bars. Or at the very least, I don't think that the odds are as good with Skeeter Gene as they would be with, again, just giving this all to authorities. Next up here, and I kind of skipped a bit forward here, but effectively, they were all going to keep quiet about the EDP sting, things like that, or I should say the botched EDP sting, since they got just about nothing out of it. But after Kayla had spoken to authorities, she decided that she was going to make a video and post it. And because of her posting this and going public with the story, JiDion felt that they needed to respond and release their video showing their botched sting.
So that is the only reason why me and Skeeter went public with it afterwards, because everybody already knew that we were involved in the situation. So we let them know, hey, this is what happened. But the plan from the beginning was to make sure that this all goes through and that EDP was arrested. Then we were going to post about it. And to prove that to you guys, here's an IG live that I did the day that we caught EDP that someone had screen recorded, where we didn't let anybody know who we caught. All we said was that we caught somebody big.
Y'all know what we do. We would tell you guys who we just caught, but legally we can't. But it's big. It's big. The person that we're talking about, he talked to a real underage person, but we can't say who he is. But you guys will find out very, very, very soon. Maybe a couple years. Possibly a couple years. Like, that's how bad this is.
Now, maybe I am just being pedantic here, or semantic, whatever the word is for it, but saying that you caught the guy, and I think what usually people think with that, especially when you bring up that there may be some legal issues and it may take a couple years, is that you got him arrested, that you actually caught him. And what actually happened was them trying to talk to him and confront him in front of a dialysis center, where he ignores them, walks into the building, and then comes out, gets in his car, and leaves. They didn't catch him. And his defense being like, well, we didn't drop his name in this live. It's like, okay, I guess. He's proven that they were trying to keep quiet and keep hush-hush until they got him arrested. But again, they would have just done a much better job at, making that happen if they just got the police involved. It just feels like he's defending a point that doesn't really matter here. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up, JiDion pulls a clip from another one of Kayla's videos that she had made going over and like exposing JiDion, which you see in the bottom left-hand corner here. And in this video, she makes a point that one of the moderators for JiDion wanted her to be used as bait to try to catch EDP out. and JiDion has a rebuttal with evidence for this.
Someone told Inside about what happened, and he ended up joining the voice call as well, and asked me if I wanted to be bait.
So I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. When she made this video, it was already 2 years removed from the whole situation. So maybe she forgot how that conversation really went. But do you guys remember that VC call that I had showed you guys earlier where it was a bunch of people? That's the VC call that she's alluding to. And in that VC call, it was actually Kayla's idea to where she wanted to be the bait. And the people in the VC were coming up with ideas to get EDP to come out in person. And then Kayla decided to give herself up as tribute. I'll play the clip.
Do like the first meeting and then they not approach him.
Right.
In public.
Like in public,
and then get his confidence, and then like lure, and then like get him and trap him.
Lure him to a hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
Real.
So that would be like.
You still have to get a little.
Hey, listen, listen.
To
Inside.
be honest, I don't mind doing it, and I don't think my parents would mind.
And you will see here how not only the members in the VC call shut that down completely, but also the mod that she says offered her the role of being bait also shut it down.
Inside, I have an idea.
I don't know.
Regardless of how
I don't
you
know.
feel,
It would be real. That's really a risk. Like high key.
Do not do that under any circumstances.
Okay,
Wait,
listen.
what?
Because you're
I had a.
Yeah, you shouldn't actually physically be there.
I'm
Yeah,
tolerant.
you would be
Yeah.
subjecting.
I
Technically, they would
Especially
be
since he talks
subjecting
about
you to
weapons.
a pedophile.
So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she's just misremembering it because it was a long time removed. And I don't think she meant any ill will or maliciously lied like that. But yes, this is the evidence. I just want to put that out there to clear the air, especially for my former mod Inside.
I remember when I mentioned earlier in the video, it would be important down the road to show you guys that he was using clips from Turkey Tom's video about him from just a few weeks ago. And that's because this claim here, and the video that he's showing as evidence where his moderator is on the fence like, yeah, high key, it's high risk and stuff. And he's saying, I don't know, and I'm not really sure that that would be a good idea. Well, yes, this does exist, and that is a good point. On the other side of this, Kayla also isn't wrong, because on a live stream with JiDion, his moderator Inside says that, oh, he had this fire content idea to have her lead EDP on for a video to catch him in a sting.
According to Inside, the Discord moderator who contacted EDP about the sting, he actually gave Kayla some advice on how to go about communicating with EDP.
So happy that this worked out, bro.
Wait, here, Inside.
I'm so happy this worked out.
So everybody doesn't think, I paid this girl. Can you tell them what happened?
Okay, so basically, Kayla messages me whenever he starts DMing her, and she's like, yo, EDP is DMing me. And so we got on a call, and I was like, first off, make sure you tell your parents, tell the police, all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, yo, I have a fire idea for a video. What if you just lead him on for a little bit so that, and then I'll tell JiDion all about this. And maybe JiDion can get an IRL interview with EDP because he ghosted us on the online one.
Hey child, hey
kid, what if you messaged the pedophile and the pedophile groomed you?
Now in JiDion's video, he never talks about this. He never brings it up. He moves past this point shortly after and we'll continue on with it. But it comes off as a bit malicious, or at the very least cherry picking, when he clearly has watched the Turkey Tom video. He's used a clip of it from earlier on, but when there is a clear example of evidence that supports Kayla's claims that she was told to, be bait effectively, she was told to lead on EDP for a JiDion video, that JiDion's going to turn around and say, that's not true. Here's evidence of him saying that that wasn't a good idea. He said on stream that is what he did. He told her to lead him on. And he goes into this yap of, maybe she's just misremembering things. I don't blame her for, misremembering. It was years ago. And it just becomes this incredibly condescending and malicious thing that he's doing over and over, where he keeps doing that to, seed this doubt that Kayla is being dishonest. And she is in a lot of different ways, but this is certainly not one of them. But I find it really hard to believe that this is one of those instances. Next up, JiDion shows that Kayla was making an earnest effort in trying to be like an IRL decoy for EDP, and that she was very clearly trying to get some limelight in this situation, like I showed you earlier with some of the messages that she was sending in the Discord.
This was not the only time that Kayla was trying to be an IRL decoy to meet EDP in person. Since she never gave us the logins nor let us do the plan that we had of switching out the communication, I instead thought of the idea of getting an adult decoy. So that way when EDP came to meet, we could have an adult decoy there. Now, I had asked her to send me some photos of her, and she sent me these photos right here. With these photos, we found an actress that looks fairly similar to her. So I just find it weird that she's saying that we were forcing her to keep on talking to EDP when we're jumping through all these different hoops. I mean, if we can find an actress that looks just like her, then why wouldn't we just take over the communication? It just, to me personally, it doesn't make any sense, but again, she might just be misremembering things, so I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt.
Now, this point specifically, I do agree to a certain extent with JiDion. That being that it just doesn't make sense of her claims being that they were telling her, like forcing her to communicate with EDP, because it doesn't seem like any of this was involuntary. She's made that pretty clear. It's clear that she wanted to be a part of it, and she is going out of her way, and which you will also see in a second here, like really going out of her way to be a part of this sting in some way to get her name on it.
Now, I had sent her a photo of the of-age decoy that we would be using, and she sent me this really weird message. I'm gonna read that message for you real quick, and keep in mind, to my knowledge at least, this is the second time she's asked to meet EDP445 in person. Let me read you what she said. She said, "Quick question. I was wondering why you need a decoy to lure EDP, because, hear me out, if he sees it, he's gonna leave." Meaning if he sees the decoy, he's gonna leave. "And if it's actually me, I could get him to do devious things on camera that he won't be able to deny in court, you know? And since I'm really turning 16 on that day, wouldn't it make it more real? Like I could get him to spill the beans because I feel like he'll try to trick the decoy." And I let her know cops aren't going to allow you anywhere near that. I really didn't even know how to respond to that.
As you saw, the message from Kayla is incredibly bizarre and unnerving. You know, screw the decoy that you guys had used, like use me, the child in this situation that is literally being groomed by EDP. And JiDion says that this is the second time that she has wanted to be around EDP in person. Why are we still going through with trying to make a video out of this? Why are we still going through with like having her work alongside or communicate with her and get information from her? Why has this not been pushed off to law enforcement? Any reasonable person in this situation is going to see the child talking to them in this type of way and go, oh, this isn't okay. Something's wrong. I am not capable of dealing with this. JiDion had even mentioned earlier on in this that during this time, he was very new to predator catching, which is why he was working alongside Skeeter. You don't even have experience in a questionable field of like catching predators and doing what law enforcement should be doing. And now you're going the extra step of communicating with this kid who is interacting with EDP. I understand that you can't stop interaction and stop them from communicating with each other, but then why are you feeding into it? Why are you engaging with this, if not just for the sake of your own content? Next up, he goes back to that same video from earlier that came from Kayla and actually kind of addresses this idea of like, oh, he's just focused on the content of this and not the fact that this girl was literally being groomed by a pedophile.
Rather than treating the situation seriously, JiDion saw it as content.
Now, it really does suck that Kayla sees it as all I saw was content. And truly, I mean, I didn't just see it as content. I saw it as a monster actually talking to a minor who's a fan of me. So I wanted to do everything in my power to get that man arrested. And I want her to stop being subjected to that monster, which is why I told her to block him.
I told JiDion every single time that EDP would send me dick pics, but he would never tell me to like block him or anything.
I want you to block him on your phone, right?
And I continued messaging him because it was very like encouraged for me to keep doing it.
I again just don't really buy the excuse of, no, this wasn't just for content. I told her to block him. Like this is the same line of logic as like, oh, you know, we wanted to take over communication, but she never gave us that, you know, line of communication. So we continued with it anyway. Every moment where he's like, hey, you know, it's clear that we were looking out for her best interest because, you know, we wanted to take communication so that she was not receiving these messages. I told her to block him. All of that is made moot by the fact that they still went on to use her and take the information that she was getting from EDP and then tried to get a sting operation set up against EDP. The fact that they still focused on making a video out of this, it's just proof that he was more focused on the content of this and not protecting Kayla in this situation. And I think that's just kind of the internal bias I have of the core with predator catching videos. Obviously, it has to be for content because that's how you make your money. That's literally what you're doing here. And that is exactly what happened here at the expense of a 16-year-old getting groomed. But continuing on. Next up, JiDion puts forward the idea, which was brought up in my previous video as well from the documentary, that Kayla is an opportunist. And as to why she wasn't giving them the reins for communication to EDP, etc., the reason that she was acting the way she was, why she wasn't going ghost, as JiDion puts it, is because she's an opportunist.
And I don't want to put words in her mouth, so I'm going to let her speak for herself. But I think the reason why she didn't let us just take over and let her be a ghost is because of what she said right here.
Now, me personally, am I an opportunist? Yes, I am. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you're not harming anybody. And I don't think I was harming anybody. And especially when you're my age, if you're 16, people are going to think that you're young and dumb. So you kind of have to be an opportunist. You have to make your own opportunities. You cannot be waiting for them. But this entire situation was not that at all.
Now, I agree with the sentiment that Kayla was an opportunist here. She wanted to take advantage of this situation. She wanted to get notoriety from it. She wanted credit from trying to get EDP put behind bars. I don't disagree with that. I think she actually attempted to, manipulate things, and she acted in a way to make that very clear. I won't say that she is then responsible for how poorly this was conducted or responsible for the fact that she got groomed by EDP. I would put that onto EDP as well as JiDion and JiDion. And it seems like JiDion is making the point that this is kind of her fault that they weren't able to communicate with them and do these things XYZ, when we are literally putting blame on a 16-year-old for their decisions when there were two grown adults here, JiDion and JiDion, that were fully capable of saying, hey, this isn't worth the content. We are going to contact the authorities, give them the information you've given us. You should stop contacting EDP and be done with this. But instead, because, fire content, they stuck around. They kept communicating with her. They kept getting more information, and they tried to set up a sting, and they botched it, and they screwed it up, and they gave EDP an opportunity to walk away from this a free man. It comes off as using the same argument that EDP was using himself. It's kind of her fault because of how she acted as a kid, even though there were adults here that could have made their own decisions to make sure this wasn't going to happen, or at least prevent themselves from being involved in this situation. It wasn't their job to put EDP behind bars. It's their job to make content, and that's what they were focused on. And I really believe, based off what they're showing, that that's what they were focused on. Now, I referenced this earlier, but the next thing here is JiDion confirming that there is an active, police case going on with the FBI in regard to this situation. It's still technically active. That doesn't mean that they maybe still be working on it, but the case is still open, I should say.
Kayla gave me case numbers and detective numbers to call. I called the detective number and it was disconnected. And took me till 3 years later to finally find out what police station she went to and everything. And she really doesn't have all the updates and everything. But luckily, since I deal with police so much, I kind of figured it out and figured out where to look. And I can confirm that there is a case number associated with the account, meaning that there wasn't a report made. And also, not only was there a report made, but I confirmed with the police station that this case is currently with the FBI. Now, granted, even though it's with the FBI, I don't know if they're still actively investigating it, and I don't know if they'll do anything with all of this, me personally. So while we can all hope and pray that this situation wasn't for nothing, because, at the end of the day, she was still groomed, she is still a victim, and EDP needs to be arrested, I don't know if the FBI is going to do anything with the information.
Now, I'm showing this because there is a claim that she makes that he had in a previous stream, which caused doxing of her by his fans, where he claimed that she lied about, filing a police report and getting police involved. And now he's confirming that it was indeed the case that she contacted authorities. Now, she's saying that all this happened in a stream that was deleted. Can't take her word for it necessarily, so I mean, I just wanted to give you guys at least that info, so he clarified that there was a case going on. Next up here, he shows that she has made threats of suing JiDion. Not exactly sure as to why, but here's that clip of him showing that.
She's been threatening to sue me a lot lately. Like in her video that she made about me recently, she threatened that I would be inside of a lawsuit.
I mean, at this point, what does JiDion even pay you for? Especially you inside. I can't wait to see you all inside a lawsuit next.
And somebody in her comment section said, hey, why are you gonna sue JiDion but not EDP? And she replied with, EDP doesn't have any money. Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what else to say about that, man, you know?
Obviously, kind of showing her intentions in this situation by, you know, saying that she's suing them and suing JiDion specifically because they have money and EDP doesn't. Next up here, JiDion addresses her talking about, you know, photoshopping her face onto photos that she had sent to EDP. And this is his kind of response to it. Again, even in my video talking about it, I said it really was just coming down to a he said, she said, but I'm more inclined to believe that JiDion is telling the truth here from his perspective, and I'll just let that play here.
I specifically told her to never send him anything explicit.
No, I did not send EDP any pictures of me that were nude. What did happen when he asked me for them was that JiDion got like a lookalike of me, and I kind of photoshopped her face into Google pictures.
And a year before she did the documentary, so this is her first video coming out about her being the victim of EDP, she states in there that she did send him a nude, but it wasn't her, and that she just got it off of Google because she's quote unquote big-brained.
And he even asked for nudes, which the nudes that I sent him weren't mine. They were from Google because, you know, it's big brains, you know?
And the reason why this is making me so frustrated is because I told her multiple times to never say or send anything explicit to him if she was going to continue talking to him. Luckily, I was on the phone with her the other day and I recorded the conversation and I got her acknowledging that fact. I'm going to roll the clip.
Did you take the picture of yourself or did you go on Google?
No. I did not send anything to anyone.
So you never sent him anything
Absolutely
sexual?
not. I think I will say this, you even told me not to do that because the idea was for him to like, he kept asking, you know, so we were trying to figure out something.
I told you to never send him anything sexual, correct?
Yes.
And I think it's good that he has additional evidence to kind of defend himself on this point that no, he had never asked her to send anything like that. But I think this given context just helps better understand the situation. And even with the initial reading of it, I didn't think that JiDion had ever told her to send him explicit images. But now with this added context, it's become pretty clear that he sent her the photos of this lookalike, and then like she said in the documentary, she photoshopped her face on top of that image and then apparently sent it to EDP. That's what she claimed at least. However, her sending any explicit images to him with this like photoshopped face on it didn't ever actually happen, potentially. Now, the rest of the end of JiDion's response video here actually has to do with him reacting and responding to some of the claims made by Kayla in this video, and his responses don't really help the points, and the points are pretty crazy that he chooses to showcase. So I'd rather just go through her response video and tackle them that way. But the first thing that I want to showcase is her saying that apparently the documentary was clipped in such a way that it omits the fact that in addition to talking about this, you know, photoshopping her face thing, she also had said to them that they ultimately decided not to do that. And so she had never sent these photos that she had described, and the way they cut it in the documentary makes it sound like she actually sent them, but apparently that's not the case.
I recall saying that the idea of having my face like on a decoy's body, I recall saying that that idea was brought up, but it was never fully like gone through with. But they cut that part out, maybe for shock factor. I did say that though. And so I don't know why they cut that out. That was kind of weird.
Now, JiDion points out in his video that her saying, you know, she didn't send anything doesn't match up with her claims from one of her initial videos where she said, you know, big brain, I sent some nudes from Google Images to him. But it does make me curious as to how the documentary was cut and why it was cut in that specific way for that point of the documentary. It seems like a very misleading way to have cut that segment. Up next, I don't think this is super important, but this is her talking about what I had mentioned earlier, where JiDion had claimed that she had never filed a police report, and they had DM exchanges talking about this police report being found, and she includes those. I figured it may just be useful to read off some of those messages between the two of them.
As for the fake police report allegations, so this was a while back. Bloodspeth had a stream with JiDion that JiDion deleted. Deleted for a reason, just gonna say that. And he alleged that I made a fake police report. JiDion did. And so then a little while ago, like a couple days ago, JiDion hits me up. He's panic texting me, like frantically, like just spam texting me, and he's like, I have undeniable proof that you have a police report, da da da. And I'm like, the whole time I'm like, I'll put screenshots of it in this video, but the whole time I'm like, okay, so can you tell your audience that I didn't make a fake police report? Because people are literally threatening to dox me because they thought that I did make a fake police report.
So starting from the top there, JiDion is asking, did Inside ever tell you to go to the police? I just want to make sure he did the right thing as well. What time do you want to talk tomorrow? Hey, I just got in contact with the FBI using your case number. I'm going to be getting a callback with the specialist on this case. She says, great. And then he shows photo of the, I believe, the police report or a message in regard to that. Here is that message from down below that I couldn't quite make out there. Could you please now tell everyone that I didn't make a false report, like how you and your team claimed, because that number is obviously real. JiDion responds back, can you send me this without the blackout part? She says, Inside is still online saying it's a fake case. Like, this bothers me. It's totally not cool. If you want to work together on this, I am not tolerating that. It's entirely disrespectful. He responds back, just so you know, Inside is not my manager. She says he claims to be, and didn't you say it was fake too on stream? And then he says he just used to my Discord mod. Can you hop on a call? A lot of this I'm cutting out because it's just not really important or anything. They're just kind of going back and forth. She says something, I don't want to be in any videos. You're literally lying to me to be able to question me, and you say it's not about the content, but here you are trying to use any update as a form of it. That's what makes me angry with you. You're not taking my case seriously, bruh. I can understand her point here, but at the same time, she has levied a lot of accusations at him, which a good chunk of them are not true. And she has just made a ton of shit up. I'm not saying she's in the right for any of that. That's not okay. I'm more so on the side of anything that she was doing as a child working alongside him when EDP was talking to her. That all could have been prevented by JiDion. Again, they go back and forth. I think the other important part of this is like about midway through this, she says, you literally lured me into a call with a false update to interrogate me because obviously you want to make a video about me instead of just apologizing and it could be over. Now, maybe he did that. Maybe he didn't. I really don't know. Again, both of these people have been lying. And so I can't really make heads or tails of it. That's why it's hard for me to look at any of this stuff and think it's really relevant at this point. Next up here, she talks about how she has like phone calls recorded on her computer. I'm assuming with JiDion, like evidence to support more of her claims. But again, she does the same thing that she did in the documentary, saying that she, you know, isn't going to release them or she might down the road.
I have phone calls sitting in the desktop right beside me. Honestly, I've just been lazy to download them. But if it really comes down to it, I will post them, you know? Like, if it really comes down to it, I will have to post them. Like, I can post them. And JiDion knows that. I have made him very aware of that.
Said this in my last video, but if you have that evidence, obviously now would be the time to be showing that evidence. JiDion has made an entire video dedicated to debunking a lot of the points that you've made or trying to show, you know, how you were acting while, you know, you were a kid, which again, I don't agree with, but point being, this now would be the opportune time to show this evidence to prove that he is acting more maliciously than he is showing he is. She said that she had a bunch of evidence to, you know, get after JiDion in the documentary, and she's like, oh, I won't do it because he has a big audience and I'm scared of what they'll do. But she said that she's already been doxxed. She says that she's been swatted. Like, we're already past that point, even without her showing this evidence. And like I said before, claiming that JiDion, like, you are a victim of JiDion, almost more than you are a victim of EDP, would be enough to get anybody's audience to go after you. So again, I just really don't trust that she has any groundbreaking information that she's sitting on and waiting on for any good reason. Now, this is where things get really weird, which is her confirming this idea that she thinks that JiDion is working alongside or working with the Illuminati.
As for the Illuminati, that is not something I want to talk about right now. I will talk about it in code, but this is the first and last time I probably will ever talk about it because simply I don't want to die. I do kind of fear for my life. I don't want to be put in a predicament. Anyway, so with the Illuminati, after being behind the scenes in this industry for a while, what I can say is that it's not called the Illuminati, but something relatively similar does exist, and it is fucking terrifying, okay? What I think happens, what I think I was almost, I don't want to say a victim of, but what I think I was almost offered is to push an agenda that's very sexual and lustful and go against a country in the Middle East and support a country that's blue and white in the Middle East. And if I didn't do that, my sponsors would be taken away. And that was essentially almost like a threat that I got. So I do believe that something similar to the Illuminati exists. And I do think that people such as JiDion, I don't know about Skeeter, maybe Skeeter, but mostly JiDion, Neon, people like that. I think that they are unfortunately far gone into something relatively similar to that. I don't want to get too much into it, but people that are smart will understand what I'm saying.
So yeah, I think she has gone off the deep end personally. I'm very curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on that, but I guess at least she stood by it, the claim that she made. But yeah, she closes off the video, says that the case is still active and it just might take a really long time because it took 10 years to get Epstein into jail, but he didn't actually go to jail, and a bit more just kind of rambling. But this is not the end of it, unfortunately. So right after JiDion's video came out, she made a huge community post on her YouTube, and I will read off that for you, or at least the important bits of it. Here we go. Before I say what I say, please do not send hate to JiDion. Yes, it's misinformation, and I believe she's referencing his video, and I'm too lazy to make a video about this, so I will explain everything on notes instead. Anyways, I just watched his video. A lot of this is taken out of context and a misunderstanding from what I can see. He's been misinformed, so I don't hate him as much. I just think he has a bad team who's not entirely honest with him. Here's my honest take. Starting off, JiDion questions who messaged who first, if it was EDP or me. In his own video, you can see a screenshot of EDP initiating conversation with me, and he himself even adds screenshots of me letting people in the server know that I let EDP beware of my age once he messaged me. On top of that, your own associate, Inside, has publicly claimed that he has seen texts and recordings of EDP messaging me first on a live stream. JiDion then goes on to say that he's unsure of the timeline of EDP and I talking, or for how long we talked, because he didn't know until 2 weeks later. To make something clear, when Inside, his manager or associate, I don't even know who he is at this point, knew about EDP, he told me he'd tell JiDion, which is why I didn't block EDP. I waited for JiDion's response because as a reputable predator catcher, I wanted to see if there was anything he could do. Yeah, I could block a predator, or I could try to get him arrested and prevent him from doing anything to anyone. One of his fans in the meantime did tell me to go to the FBI tip line, which I did end up doing but didn't hear anything, which is another reason why I waited. Yeah, I could go straight to the police, but with the justice system being American and protective of predators, I was also piling up as much evidence as I could. I was letting EDP tell on himself. Continuing on though, JiDion did at one point want someone else to be a decoy, which is totally understandable. The problem is I was waiting for them to give me a phone number I could give EDP so he could text, and they never gave me one. JiDion hopped on a call with my mom and assured her it would be them talking to him, but I never got a phone number I could use so I could tell EDP, oh, I switched phones or anything. They wanted my Instagram account instead, which I didn't want to give because I didn't want to mess up the data for the FBI, nor knew if that could affect it, and also EDP texted me more on iMessage because he hated Instagram. It would just make more sense to get an actual number. I waited for them to give me a phone number EDP could text and they never sent one. But I was totally open for them to text him. I would have loved to block him, but I never got any number or any social media account I could tell him was me. Now, again, this is really strange. It doesn't really make sense. This Instagram point where she's like, didn't want to mess up the data for the FBI doesn't make any sense and just kind of sounds like bullshit. Interested to hear, but I doubt if JiDion will respond to her saying that they never gave her a phone number to give him. They are both telling very different stories there. For the clout allegations, I'm completely honest in them. This Discord thread was posted after I made my first EDP video and after filing a police report. His server hated me for posting a video before JiDion about the scandal of EDP texting me. So I defended myself because if I was put through free trauma, shit pics, trauma dumps, I wanted to do something good out of it. You don't create views, you gain them. And they were going to get a $20 million sponsor, so why couldn't I make a video about an experience that happened to me? I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with sharing a personal story. I also made the video originally to let people beware EDP was a babysitter. I was indeed allowed to post a video. The cops didn't see a problem with it. They just said not to show actual legal documents. So it sounds like she reached out to them saying, hey, can I make a video? And the cops were just saying, yeah, it would be okay to make a video. And in regard to documents, even the ones JiDion has shown, they haven't botched the case. This includes chat logs. Since law enforcement has the data, it's entirely irrelevant. The case is actually active and law enforcement only gives me updates because they do not want more YouTubers involved. A detective did say it was not wrong for me to make a video if I wanted to. JiDion knows this detective as well. So apparently maybe the case isn't botched. They just haven't been doing anything with it for 3 years. And maybe it'll actually be more active and they'll make steps to potentially arrest EDP based off of this. Here, she kind of defends her point of like wanting to be in person for EDP as like a decoy, saying that her parents would have been okay with it, things like that. And by devious things, she meant that he would genuinely just walk into a location and be charged for who he was preying on. Again, bit strange. Comments about the suing bit. It says, as for the comments about suing and stuff, I honestly don't want to sue anyone. Someone asked me why I don't sue EDP. What exactly am I suing him for? Not pro at lawsuits, but from my knowledge, you lose money suing someone who doesn't have money, so why would I do that? What would I be gaining? And then as for nudes, apparently she had sent a selfie about her makeup like once at most to EDP. And then as for the Illuminati, the Satanist stuff is a joke. I'm an agnostic atheist. However, I do believe JiDion are victim of the Illuminati. Take care of yourself, and please tell your fan base to stop doxing me. Apparently she got swatted on her birthday today because of them. She closes it by saying, after explaining all this, I'd like to say it absolutely does not justify your faults. You should have never added a predator into your Discord. You should have never made lies saying I didn't make a police report. You should have never told me you had a private investigation being built up only to have me go to the cops on my birthday, etc. It's been a long time, and to my knowledge, it hasn't affected my case, although I did feel it was important to bring up regardless due to the unprofessionalism in that. Hope you make better choices continuing your predator catches. Beef squashed. Now, I do gotta say, even with a lot of the stuff that I just don't agree with Kayla on, and I don't think that she, again, has been the most reliable narrator, but even with that being said, should have never added a predator into your Discord. Very true. They were just focused on content. And so to bring this very, very long video to a close, I think that JiDion's response does a decent job of including a bit more context, but I don't think that that sways the fact that none of this should have happened, and the fact that he engaged and worked alongside, for the most part, this 15-year-old who was literally being groomed by an actual pedophile, EDP. None of that is justified by any of the steps that he took, outside of any steps he took to stop communication with her and bringing what they had to the authorities. Instead, even in situations where he tried to, take over communication or tell her to block him, when those things didn't happen, they still pressed on with trying to make content out of this situation. At the same time, Kayla is not a perfect victim. She was a kid, and she also tried to manipulate the situation to her benefit. She is still talking about the situation and claiming that she never lied about anything when there's blatant proof of her lying time and time again. You can't really trust her, and she is not a perfect individual by any stretch of the imagination. But again, that does not justify or in my mind, make what JiDion did any less bad. I do think there is bias there that is impacting me based on how I've assessed this. And please, if you have watched the end of this video and you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments. I am happy to see disagreement. And I know that I'm not always going to be hitting the mark, but for whatever reason it is, if JiDion just rubs me the wrong way or this type of content and the moral issue of it, I just find it really hard to give much charity to JiDion in this situation. But that's it for the video. If you'd rather, this will also, again, be up on Spotify. Check out the Discord. It is an 18 and up Discord where you can stay on top of news, chat around, play some games in a voice call with some other people. But that's really it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to leave it a like, consider subscribing, perchance a hype. After that like, it really helps boost the video. And I'll see you guys later. Adios. Peace. Bye.